There are some stories that haunt you. Stories that don't end with justice or with answers. Stories that leave you staring at the ceiling at night, wondering how someone so brilliant could also be so terrifying. This is the story of America's smartest killer. A man who built his crimes not on brute force, but on mathematics, logic, and a mind so sharp it could slice through the very systems designed to catch him. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was always 10 steps ahead. And that's why the hunt for him became one of the most extraordinary manhunts in American history. He was born like anyone else, a child with a curious mind. Teachers described him as a prodigy, a boy who could see patterns where others only saw noise. He devoured books. He solved problems that stumped adults. And in another life, he might have gone on to cure diseases or invent new technologies. But intelligence is a double-edged sword. When brilliance meets bitterness, when genius collides with isolation, it can turn into something darker, something dangerous. By the time he was a young man, that sharp mind had found its obsession. Outsmarting people, outsmarting systems, outsmarting life itself. The first crimes were small, almost invisible. He would alter records, hack into school systems, bend rules in ways nobody noticed. He didn't need money. He didn't even need recognition. What he craved was the thrill of being untouchable. And for a while, he was. Until one night, everything changed. A man was found dead. No forced entry, no struggle, just precision. Like the killer had rehearsed the crime 1,000 times before ever stepping foot inside. Police at first thought it was a robbery, but nothing was taken. And then the pattern began. One victim, then another, and another, each crime different in detail. A poisoning here, a staged accident there, but all of them connected by something invisible, something only investigators could sense. The killer was playing with them. This wasn't murder out of rage. This was strategy. Detectives gave him a name, not one the press ever saw, not at first. Internally, they called him the Architect, because every crime looked like it had been designed, not committed. But outside the police walls, whispers grew louder. America's smartest killer, a genius gone rogue. The media loved the idea. It was terrifying, but irresistible. And in a way, so did the killer. Because soon, he began to leave notes, not obvious ones, not taunts, but carefully constructed puzzles, riddles, equations that didn't quite add up unless you knew what to look for. It was as if he wanted the hunt to continue, as if catching him was the final piece of the game. The FBI took over. Dozens of agents, analysts, and profilers sat in rooms staring at walls covered in strings and photos. One profiler compared it to playing chess against a ghost. Every time they thought they had him cornered, he slipped through. He understood surveillance, he understood forensics, he understood human psychology well enough to anticipate every move. It became clear this was no ordinary killer. This was a man who read every criminology textbook, studied every investigation manual, and then used that knowledge against the very people chasing him. But for all his intelligence, he was still human. Because in one crime, he made a mistake. A woman survived, barely. She was found unconscious in her apartment, poisoned but alive. When she woke up in the hospital, she gave them the only description anyone ever had. But it was his eyes she remembered. The way he studied her, not with anger, but with curiosity. Like he was a problem he was solving. That detail chilled investigators more than anything else. Over the years, theories about his motives multiplied. Was he targeting people from his past? Was there a pattern hidden in the victims, a secret only he understood? Or was the pattern itself the point, the puzzle he wanted them to solve? Experts debated. Psychologists called him a narcissist. Criminologists saw him as a scholar of crime. Some compared him to the great con artists of history. Others said he was closer to a scientist conducting deadly experiments. But the truth? Nobody really knew. The hunt dragged on for years. Every lead felt like it was designed to mislead. Every suspect turned out to be a dead end. And slowly, the case began to slip from the headlines. The public moved on. New scandals, new tragedies, new distractions. But the investigators never stopped. Some devoted entire careers to finding him. Others retired with the case unsolved. A few even admitted that in a strange way, they had grown to respect his intellect, even as they despised his crimes. Because in a twisted sense, he had achieved what few ever do. He forced the world to see him, not just as a criminal, but as a mystery. And here's the haunting part. To this day, nobody knows for certain what happened to him. Some believe he died, his secrets buried forever. Others think he's still alive, living quietly, watching the world move on, maybe even smiling at the fact that his story is being told right now. But there's another possibility, that he's still out there, that he never really stopped. That somewhere another crime is unfolding, designed with the same precision, the same cold intellect, and we just haven't seen the pattern yet. In the end, this story isn't just about one man. It's about the danger of brilliance without empathy, about what happens when intelligence is stripped from humanity, because the line between genius and madness is thinner than we want to admit. And maybe that's why this story lingers, because deep down, we all know the truth. The scariest monster isn't the one hiding in the shadows. It's the one who can walk among us, unnoticed. The one who can look you in the eye and see you not as a person, but as a puzzle to be solved. This is the story of America's smartest killer. And it's a story that may never end.